character. You can have grit, and be resilient.
This is a classic. We hope to teach the children to stand tough, hands up, so we reach the ceiling. We persevere through our struggles, and yes, we are willing to teach all how to have grit and be resilient. Gotta have grit, 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 and be resilient. When I think of grit, I think of passion, resilience, determination. Sitting in my classes, I'm working toward my goals, short and long term. I'm never giving up. This lesson I'm gonna learn. I take responsibility and beat the challenges. I have a lot of grit, though I'm not the most talented. Work hard, practice, give unlimited effort. I know I can get better. I never give in to pressure. Set a goal for myself from the start to the finish. I need self-discipline, push it to my limit. When I want to quit, that's when I persevere. And when I think of grit, I think of every person here. And if I ever fail, resilience help me bounce back. Giving up is not an option, help me count that. Hard work is a habit, I'ma teach the children so they can know how to have grit and be resilient. This is a classic, we hope to teach the children to stand tough, hands up, so we reach the ceiling with perseverance.
All right. That song right there is called Have Grit and Be Resilient. Okay, have grit and be resilient. That's one of those things that we are working toward in here, you know, have some grit, because sometimes in life, if you're trying to be successful, you just got to be tough. You know, you can't be weak. Can't be weak-minded. You got to be tough. You got to have some grit. And also, you got to have some resilience. You know, that's the ability to keep going, even though, you know, the circumstances may be different or difficult. You know, resilience means that I keep going. So you know, that's another song that I like as well, because it encourages you to have grit, be tough, to be resilient, keep moving, you know, despite difficult challenges that may come your way. All right, so this is going to be part 2 of Glendora Devine's book. It's called Leaving Legacies, Breaking the Disconnect Between Parents and Millennials. Okay? Leaving Legacies. Leaving Legacies. I got something for you guys at the end of this one. All right? But Glendora Devine's book, Leaving Legacies, Breaking the Disconnect Between Parents and the Millennials. And so today we're going to talk about the first type of parenting, authoritarian parenting. We're going to talk about that one today, because it's the longest one for us to go through. It's going to take a little bit more time to go through than the others. And so we're going to talk about that because, again, remember, my job here is not only to help my students, but it's to help parents as well, because we have to work together in order to get our kids to going in the right direction, to going in the direction that we need them to go in. Okay? We're going to have to get better. And the only way we can get better and grow is we have to be doing the things that it takes to get better and grow. Okay? There are some people out there that are expert at what they do, you know, including myself and others. I've dedicated my life to trying to help people that want to get better. So I can give them some skills and some tools that they need in order to grow and to get better. Okay? So the first one we're going to talk about is authoritarian parenting. And we're going to talk about how does it look? What does it look like? First of all, in the household of an authoritarian parent, it's always going to be, to the most part, my way or no way. Hey, it's always going to be my way or no way. And I'm guilty of that a lot of times, you know, because I remember, you know, as my kids were growing up, I remember saying, because I said so, and not really giving them a reason. Now, I didn't do it all the time, but I do remember doing it sometime. But this is how it looks, my way or no way at all. Another thing is children are not given a chance to question or respond back. Okay, and that type of parenting, you know, authoritarian parenting, the children are not given a chance to question or respond back. Okay, and the other thing is parents say they're strict or they're being old school. And we all know that because a lot of us grew up into that type of parenting. And I know baby boomers basically, especially in the black community, grew up with that kind of parenting. Now, there is a positive side to it, you know, that we have noted. And that positive side is it can have a positive impact on compliance, okay, with parents and some authority figures like close relatives. It can. But that compliance has to do with if the parent is there or not. It has to do with if the parent is there or not. Okay? Because the kids understand the consequences from the parent. They understand the consequences from their uncle and their aunts and, you know, people like that. But the problem is when they come to school, you know, we can't parent them the same way that you guys. We can't discipline them the same way. And so it has no effect when the kids come to school. Okay? And now we're going to talk about the negative side of it, because we've seen, you know, that it does have a positive side. But as you can see, there's a lot of negatives to this type of parenting style. And the first one, that children are not responsible for independent problem solving or adapting to and overcoming obstacles or challenges that they may. She said may, but I say will face, because they will face challenges. There's no doubt about it. You know, none of us get through life without facing some kind of obstacles or challenges. So they will face these challenges, and because they're not responsible for making, you know, those independent problem-solving things, you know, it's going to be tough for them. One of the things that we found out as educators, this is what they did years ago. We went to top businesses across the world, and we asked these businesses, we were like, what type of workers are you looking for? You know, because we want to create those type of workers coming out of high school, okay? So what are you looking for? These are the three things that kept coming up. We want critical thinkers. We want people that can collaborate. That means work together with others. And we want problem solvers. We want problem solvers. And so the problem with that is that when you come from this type of parenting, your ability to solve problems is going to be hampered, because you are not allowed to ask questions. You're not allowed to respond to whatever the discipline is. Most of the time the answers in that kind of parenting is, because I said so, Javon. Because I said so, LaKayla, that's why you do it. Janet, because I said so, that's why you do it. And because of that, the kids don't develop the skills that they need to work their way through problems. Because, again, problems will happen. It's not may, problems will happen in life. It's a part of life. And we have to learn how to navigate through those. We have to learn how to problem solve and work our way through them. Another negative thing, it can cause children to rebel and display mischievous behaviors as they develop. And that's why we always wonder sometimes the preacher's kids are some of the worst kids. They develop into the worst kids. Because what are they doing? You know, they're rebelling. They're rebelling against the authoritarian parent that says, you're going to do what I say do. And that's just the bottom line. That's it. And they rebel against that because they want their own independence. independence. They want to be able to make some decisions and choices, and they can't. So that's why you see sometimes some of our kids come from good homes, good backgrounds, and they still end up rebelling and doing crazy things. And that's because a lot of times is because of this, okay? Because they're not able to respond or reply back to whatever the discipline is. Another one, because the children are rarely given reasons for the rules that are established and no negotiating or compromising, they lack the understanding of how to build healthy relationships with others. And this is because the parents attempt to control and shape them to meet their absolute standards. Okay? So, because they are rarely given reasons for why they do things, they lack that ability, okay, to be able to compromise. They lack, those abilities, again, to be able to compromise. And when they get into relationships, guess what? They're not going to know how to negotiate in those relationships, because that's all relationships are. It's negotiating, it's compromising, right? And when you're always told that you're doing it because I said so, that means that you're not learning or gaining the ability to be able to compromise and negotiate. And because you can't do that, when you get married or when you try to have a relationship with somebody, guess what you're not going to be able to do? Negotiate and compromise. And I'm telling you right now, I've been married 27 years, and I can tell you right now, it's a lot of negotiating and compromising. Okay? If it was not for that, we probably would have been divorced after the second year. But it was because, now, a lot of the things me and my wife had to do, we had to learn on the go, because we were young, 20 years old when we got married. So we were just barely out of that, exploring and learning ourselves. Just getting out of high school 2 years, and now we're married. So we had to learn a lot of those things. But we were committed to making sure that we stay together so our kids would have two parents in the household. And so we negotiated, we compromised. And because kids that come from this type of parenting don't learn those negotiating and compromising skills, they constantly have problems in relationships. They do. They constantly have problems. Not only relationships with, like in girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever y'all want to call it now, dating. Not just those, but in relationships on the job. Okay? Because sometime on the job, you have to learn how to negotiate your way through stuff. Okay? Not only that, relationship with friends. You have to learn how to negotiate and compromise even with your friends. And so, because you're not given the opportunity, years and years and years, not given the opportunity to be able to negotiate and compromise, relationships will have a hard time being successful in this type of parenting. Okay? The other thing, they do not understand the power of choices. Power of choices. That's why a lot of our kids make bad choices. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them make bad choices because they never really had to make a choice. They really never been given the opportunity to decide and make a decision, because everything is, you do it my way or you get out. Okay? So we never give them choices so that they can be able to think about it, so that they can be able to look at the pros and cons, and so that they can make a quality decision. The only way we learn how to do that, folks, is we have to practice it. We have to have opportunity to be able to do it. That's the only way we can learn. And anything is we have to have the opportunity to be able to put it into action, make it practical. And when we don't have that opportunity, we don't learn those skills. Okay? So, they don't understand the power of choice because they're rarely ever given the abilities to make decisions. Okay? And the choices that we make are going to go a long way into determining, you know, some choices are going to make our life extremely hard. Some choices are going to make our life, because our life is going to be tough anyway, but it'll be less tough, if I can say that. It'll be less tough, some of the choices that we make. Okay? It's good choices, they're bad choices. And we have to be able to have those negotiating skills to be able to go through those pros and cons and know what that best decision is. And sometimes going back to, in a relationship, sometimes it's not about right and wrong. And so when we come from these kind of parentings, when our mate, when the other person does something a different way, we tend to say they're wrong. When that's not the case. That's not the case. It's not necessarily that they're wrong, it's just that that's not the way that I was brought up. And I always use this illustration. When I was coaching, my first coaching job at Henry County High School, Coach Rosser, my buddy and friend still to the day, he hired me. Coach Rosser had a different philosophy than I did in his way of winning games. He wanted to run up and down, helter-skelter. I'm more of a control guy. You know, we'll run, but it's only if we have an easy, clear shot. If we don't have a clear shot, we pass the ball, we move, we pass the ball. So I'm more control. But guess what? He won a ton of games, I won a ton of games. Okay? We had two different ways of winning, but we both won. So it was not a matter of his way being right, my way being wrong, and my way being right, and his way being wrong. It's about this is the way, because there's other ways that you can do things. And because children that come from authoritarian parenting, they don't learn the skills of making choices and deciding which way is going to be the most effective for me. Okay? Because I can't do well in Coach Ross's system where you're going helter-skelter. Okay? Because it drives me crazy. Because it's a lot of turnover, the ball going everywhere, out of bounds, and that drives me crazy. You know, so I couldn't be successful in this system, but I was very successful in the way that I did my control basketball. Okay, so these are some of the things that are going to be the negative side. Another one, children desire to become independent as they get older, and it will cause them to listen to their friends at school and online connections in rebellion to those authoritarian parents. So, because we all have a desire to be independent, guess what happens as we get older? We start listening to our friends and Facebook and all these other online things more than we do our parents, because our parents have not effectively given us the chance or opportunity to say things back, to compromise, okay, or to negotiate. Alright? And now, so we rebel and we do the things that our friends are saying. Okay? You want to know why? Because I'll get that question all the time. Why do they do that? Okay? And the reason they do it is because, guess what? They're not allowed to make those decisions at home, so they rebel and they accept whatever their friends and people on Facebook say. Okay? And the last thing, these children tend to become angrier and more hostile toward others. Fighting in school, you know, because they don't learn how to resolve conflict. Conflict resolution is what it's called. You don't learn those things unless you put in a situation where you can practice it. Unless you can be put in a situation where you can do it. You don't learn how to resolve conflict in a positive way. Okay? The number one problem in many black schools is fighting. Fighting. It is. Why? Because our kids don't know how to resolve conflict. Okay? Everything is about, fussing, cussing. Coach, he looking at me. He disrespect me. And all of those, it's funny, silly, but believe it or not, those are the kind of things that lead to fights in our black schools. Kids always talking harsh to each other because they don't learn how to communicate. Authoritarian parents don't communicate. It's whatever I say, that's what it is. Whatever I say is gold. You don't have the opportunity to communicate and say anything back. Alright? So this is the authoritarian parenting style. And you can see why, even though it has an positive side to it, because your kids will do what you say while you're there. But when they're at school and the teacher can't cuss at them and the teacher can't hit them, okay, what are they doing? Whatever they want to do, right? So it has a positive side, but it has so many negative features to it, and that's why our kids are not learning how to have good quality relationships. Okay, so parents, again, I'm not doing all this to discourage you. I'm not doing all this to say you're not doing a good job of parenting, because I know everybody is doing what they think is the best thing to do. All I'm trying to do is help you, because I have expertise. I got other people that I work with that have expertise in this field, and we know what has been working. We've had years and years of research, years and years of experience personally, and it tells us, okay, that one way may be more helpful than the other way. And we know that this type of parenting will have a lot of negative consequences. All right? So, with that said, let me finish this last little beat of music.
Here, through our struggles in this, we are willing to teach all how to have grit.
Hold on.